So before we take this final step and give you this final exercise, I want to talk a little bit about the power of words, because that's what we're going to be asking you to do, is to speak your heart virtue. Think about it. The world you live in is a result of the words that you speak. If we look at the lives of Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Abraham Lincoln, and this is what I did when I studied the lives of these people that are heroes, and during the years that I studied quantum physics, what I found was that we live in a field. So human beings live in a world, in a field. And the field that I live in is directly related to the words that I speak. In other words, it's created by the words I speak. You know how there's this saying where people say life is a journey, not a destination? So that's a vision of a life being like kind of in a line, and I live down a line. But that's not my experience of life, and it's not yours either. Your experience of your life is that you actually live inside a sphere. I mean, think about it. Right now, you're sitting in a single place, and if you look out spherically from that place. If I were to ask you to go to a point in childhood, you can zip right there. You don't go back on a line. You immediately go to that place and you look out through a different sphere. The sphere that you live in is your world, and that world is filled with the words that you speak, the thoughts that you think, the actions that you take, and the feelings that you feel. Those four things are right out of Wallace Wattles' book, which is what almost all self-help has its origins in. It's what The Secret's about. It's what The Bleep is about. And all these movies where we see that we have all this technology now that's coming up where people can change their lives with vision boards and speak in alignment with what's most meaningful to them. Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, Napoleon Hill, all these people use the same principles. It has to do with getting the words that you speak directly in alignment with your heart virtue. Remember how we said your heart virtue is stuck in a blind spot? Well, if you don't speak your heart virtue, I can promise you it'll slide right behind that blind spot, and you'll forget it within a few days. You'll enjoy that you've taken this process, you'll know you got some value from it, but let me promise you, the most powerful thing you can do, the most meaningful thing you can do, and the most rewarding is to speak your heart virtue in the next 7 days. Right now, you're standing at a fork in the road, and you're going to go down one of two paths. You're either going to play it safe. You're not going to speak your heart virtue. You're going to say, that was nice, but why do I have to speak it to others? Yeah, you're looking for reasons. I want you to notice this. Remember, we talked about this. Don't be reasonable. Come from what's meaningful. Use your second nervous system. Get your words in alignment with what's meaningful instead of dumbing your words down and keeping them to yourself. You'll walk around out in the world and maybe you'll have, a more comfortable relationship with other people. But when you get home, you'll realize you sold yourself short. And I'm not willing to do that to you. I want you to experience the full impact that your heart virtue has to offer. The reason I've worked with Olympic gold medalists and Academy and Emmy and Grammy winners, some of the most powerful people on the planet have been my clients, because they get to a point in life where they know that the world that they live in is no longer able to be fulfilled from the outside in. They've got all the wealth and the riches and everything they could want, and yet there's something missing, and what's missing is them. And when we identify their heart virtue and get them to speak it in their world, they start building a whole new reality from the inside out. And that's what's available to you right now, more than ever before in your life, because you've just identified your heart virtue. Because this is so important, we have some ways to support you in that process. But first, we want to give you the actual exercise that will take you from understanding your heart virtue and seeing what it is to actually experiencing it on a daily basis. And here's what that's like. If I were to say to you, have you ever had an orange and you've never tasted one before? You've never had an orange, you've never seen one, and I said, have you ever had an orange? You said no. Now, if I describe what an orange is like, and I say, well, it's this thing, you peel the outside and it's got a lot of juice and you try to pull it apart and it leaks a little bit and you put it in your mouth, it's very tart and sweet. And then I ask you, do you know what an orange is? You only know what it is cognitively. But then if I hand you a piece of orange and you taste it, you're going to have a completely different experience of what an orange is. And if someone were to ask you in the future, do you know what an orange is? You can say, yes, I've tasted it. That's what the experience I want you to have with your heart virtue. I want you to actually taste it. People that have done this exercise I'm about to give you have had an unbelievable experience with themselves. And I want you to have that experience. It works like clockwork. It's like mathematics. It will not fail if you just do the exercise. So please be courageous, be curious, and take this on. It'll be worth it.